welcome back. So we are doing a year review on the 2021 Subaru Crosstrek, and some of the stuff that I like and some of the stuff that I don't like, just general overall experience with the car over a year. Now it is actually just a little over a year. It's actually, I think, 13 months since I've bought the car. Wanted to do it closer to a year, but it's just been kind of difficult to get a video done. I apologize. You probably might be hearing a little noise in the background from the chickens. So anyway, hopefully that's not too disruptive. So I have a lot of miles on this car. In fact, I don't know if you can see it there. Sorry about the shaking the camera around. It's 24,701 miles on this car. So I have about double the mileage that you should have on a vehicle. And I think the average mileage is around 13,000 a year. That's one of two things, I guess. Is one, because this car is a nice car and I wanted to drive it everywhere. It's very useful for what it is, even being a subcompact SUV. That's the actual classification of the car. Everything has held up pretty good so far as problems that I've run into, which no fault of Subaru. I have a stone chip in the hood, which I did a really bad touch-up job with a paint stick. While we were on vacation, I don't know if you can see it, there's a stone chip that got fixed from some hail. And I will tell you, hail, we were out in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, and hail and rain in the mountains is a lot worse than it is at, say, 1,000 feet. When you're up at 6,000 feet or more, it's a little more intense. The tires are in decent shape yet. Those are Geolander G91s. Yokohama Geolanders G91s, and I have to say that those tires have done great in snow. Some other people said that they weren't so great, and I would argue that I almost feel like they are worthy of a snowflake rating on the tire. There is a very similar tire from Yokohama that is 3-peak mountain snow rated, and I would say that that tire is very close, and I would imagine the difference is actually just the tread compound, with this 3-peak mountain snowflake tire being softer tread compound and this one being harder. Any other issues that I've had with the car is this passenger or driver side mirror would not defrost as quickly as the passenger side. So they took care of that. Some of the other troubles that I run into, and all of these troubles basically, besides that mirror not defrosting as fast, are things that just happen to it. For instance, on this mirror, it's hard to tell, but there is a scrape right here, and that is because of the car wash that they run it through at the dealership. Is not a touchless car wash. I don't understand why all car washes are not touchless in this day, but it grabbed the mirror, turned it around, and scratched the crap out of it. Other things that I have run into, I guess that's about it overall. Let me open up the back for a minute. Okay, so I was talking about any issues with the car, and I guess that's really about it. If I might jump back to that in a little bit, but I wanted to open up the back and show the storage. This car came with the rubber mats throughout, with the rubber on the back of the seats, rubber liner in the back, the rubber floor mats, kind of similar to what you'd see with like a WeatherTech mat. It did come with the net back here. As you can see, I have all my junk in it that keeps it from being all over the place, which is nice. You do have the privacy cover that came with it as well. I did not order anything on this car. From what I understand, it was ordered from the dealership to go to another dealership as a trade, and one of the receiving dealership backed out. So I got a couple of nice things with it that I would not have ordered. You know, also this cover on the bumper, the LED interior lights I was not going to get, and it has the StarTech waterproof or water resistant seats rather, which work really well. I really like all what's in here to help protect it, especially, you know, when I get my dogs in here, and it's just nice to be able to drop the seats down, have the protective cover on the back of the seat, and it's easy to clean up even though it is currently dirty. So that's been real nice with the car. You can see it's definitely used. And when you go to store this privacy screen, it does store under the floor, but then it raises the floor by design, and there's little things that hook onto here to help support the floor. So it is a little bit higher at that point. It only comes up a little bit because it drops down past this hook a ways, which is something I think they could have did a little bit better. I had a Forester before this, and that stored under the floor as well, and it didn't raise the floor at all. So that would be something that I did not like with this car. It also has the ratcheting seat or headrest. You know, you can put that in a couple different positions, and I don't really care for that. I like it to be all the way back. However, if you're tailgating or having to take a long break in your car, I did notice that if you click it up one and recline the seat, that helps keep your head more supported and more comfortable, you know, especially if you're just reclining and kind of surfing around on your phone or whatever. Let's see, what else can we talk about with the car? You do see a trailer hitch back there. I do pull a little 4x8 trailer with it. The towing capacity on this car, I believe, is only 1,400 pounds, and I really truly believe that's because they don't want to give a high rating to a CVT transmission. I think they're afraid that that's going to cause problems. I have not had any problems with this transmission, nor should I at 24,000 miles. One of the other things that's overlooked that no one ever talks about is, if you see back here, you can see where the camera is for your rear backup camera, and this is the actuator button to open the liftgate. Then you come over here, I don't know if you can see it or not, there is another button, and that is a pin pass code to get into the car. So how that works is that when you lock the car, you can come up to it and push that button, and it's a 5-digit code. So let's say if your first number is 5, you push that button 5 times, and then the car beeps. You go to the next number, so on and so forth, until you type in all the sequence of numbers. Then it unlocks everything on the car. So that's nice to have. I know Ford has them a lot on the A-pillar right here usually, which is pretty common, but I like that it's tucked away and hard to see back there. It's kind of nice. And if you do something with like a water sports activity or something like that, you can actually lock your key fob inside the car. And to do that, there's a couple different ways. You can turn off your key fob. There's a sequence to do that, and turn it back on afterwards. Because obviously the car will not let you lock it in there. The other way to do it without having to turn it off or on, and as long as you have internet access on your phone, is you can put the key fob in the car, and you can go onto your app and lock the car. That I think is really nice, so that way, you know, you don't have to worry about losing your expensive key fob or getting it damaged if you're, like I said, doing any water sports or anything like that. However, I have put one of my key fobs through the wash. It has dried out nicely and still works to this day. So you know, it is what it is, I guess. Also with that app, you can do the remote start on the car. Some people like that, some people hate it. The people that hate it is because you have to pay for it, and when I bought this car, they gave it to me for 3 years without having to pay anything. So as of right now, I don't hate it because I don't have to pay for it. The advantage with the app, though, I guess, is that you can start it from you can start it from anywhere, really. And, you know, if you're walking to a parking garage, you can start it on the way. You don't have to be very close to get your car to start. So there is an advantage of having the app. On the app, you can also locate your vehicle. You can you can shut your vehicle down so that it can't be started. And with that, like, if you know that somebody actually stole your car, you can activate that, but it will not do it while it's driving. It will disable the car as soon as it gets put in the park, if you ever do use that feature on your app. And, you know, I don't know if you can turn it on and off at will with that, with the disable function. I guess if you're parking maybe in a area that you're worried, you could do a disable your car, but who knows if things would go right to get it to come back online. So I don't know if I would really suggest that unless you really had to use it for some reason. This car did come with, and you should maybe see it glowing. It's probably stopped now. I've went around the car so many times, but it does have approach lights. That's what there's a little light inside behind the stars, the Subaru emblem. And then so when you get close to the car, the light will light up in the mirror, the interior lights will light up. That's kind of a nice feature to have. I like having that, that it illuminates stuff outside of the car, on the ground, and the side of the door, excuse me, while, you know, when you come up to the car. That's a really nice feature to have. So overall, like I said, this has been a really great car. We have been all over the place with this car. We have been to Michigan's highest point. We did some kind of back road kind of trails out there, just for a short distance. We live in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is boring for those trails for where you can take your car off-road. And that was one of the thoughts with buying this car, is that it can do some light off-roading and as well. So we did some trails out in Michigan by Michigan's highest point. There's 2 ways to get up that. There's a easy way and a hard way. We went a ways down the hard way until we realized that it's going to take way longer than we wanted to get to our destination turned around. We did not run out of capability of the car, but yet I didn't want to push it at that point either, because it was a spot where there was no cell phone service and help would have been very expensive. We did also go on the 7-hour plane crash trail, but not far at all. I just wanted to take a run off of the road and go onto the 7-hour plane crash trail, which actually starts in Crandon, Wisconsin, goes all the way into Upper Michigan. I would like to try and check that out a little further. And then there's another trail over in Wisconsin that they do have. I hear that that one's pretty easy. Yeah, I don't know too much about the 7-hour plane crash trail, but a lot of people do buy these Crosstreks for that type of thing, being a daily driver and a little bit of an adventure vehicle. I did think about, well, I guess we can get into that in a minute, the springs on the back. I did think about, I guess we'll just keep going with where we've been with it, and we'll try and come back to that. So we've been to Upper Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, Wyoming, Iowa, and Indiana. So within the first week we went down to Indiana, and then we did our summer vacation out by Yellowstone, and it was a comfortable car to be in. We had it loaded down with all of my family, which is 5 people. Had the entire back of the car loaded up with our belongings for our trip. It was completely tight full in the back. So you would think that this is not the car for something like that, for a big family vacation. You know, this isn't a big Suburban or something like that that's, you know, got a lot of room and that type of thing. However, it worked out great. The kids didn't complain too much. It is where we were staying was a 19.5-hour drive. We did not do that all at one time. But however, we definitely did have lengthy stretches where we were on the road. The first day we did almost 800 miles. And the kids did switch their positions when we stopped. I actually did ride in the back myself. One time, not on the journey out there or on the way back, but as we were on our vacation, I guess, I did sit in the middle seat, and it was for about 45 minutes, and I have to say it wasn't that bad. So I have the seat currently where I would have it if I'm driving, and if I get in to the vehicle right now, you can see that I do have some space. I am 5'11", and I'm a decent sized guy, so I have to say that, you know, this is a fairly comfortable car to be in if you're in the back seats. And like I said, I did ride in this middle seat for about 45 minutes. Speaking of the car's ability, oh, now I'm gonna get out, here we go. Speaking of the car's ability, we did go, where we stayed was on top of part of a mountain, and it was a 20-minute drive up the mountain off the main road, and the car did great at that, although it was, you know, I guess a decently groomed gravel drive up the mountain, with some switchbacks in there to get up the mountain. The one thing that I do have to say is the hill descent control works great for when you're coming down. You know, if you're coming down a mountain, it worked. I used the hill descent control every time we came down in certain sections that were pretty steep and curvy. I was able to get it to lock in at about anywhere from 12 to 15 miles an hour going down. And there's another stretch of mountain road that was kind of off the beaten trail that we did go up the mountain in a different spot, and this car did great at that. So it has plenty of traction, as you would expect with a Subaru these days. Their all-wheel drive is, in my mind, the best that you can get. It does have dual function X mode. You can see in here you do have the X mode switch right here, and that does that's basically advanced traction control. When you hit it the first time, it basically clamps down on the brakes harder than the traction control normally would to get the power to transfer to the opposite side of the axle. When you hit it again, it allows the tires to spin with basically, I don't know how to explain it fully, but it will allow your tires to spin more aggressively. And then of course you can disable the whole traction control system by pushing a button to the left of the steering wheel, which is down here, and that's this one right here. That'll also take off your stability control. Right next to that, you can see that there's an A with a circle around it. That's for the auto stop start. A lot of people don't like the auto stop start. I don't mind it. I really don't care if my car shuts off at the stop and go light. It's not a big issue for me or inconvenience to lift my foot off the brake and have it start the motor again. It maybe wastes about a second of your time. That's it, you know. Does it save a lot of gas? Not really. How much emissions does it save? I guess I don't know, but it's probably better than letting your car idle. for that amount of time that you might be sitting, if you think of it over the long run. Excuse me. So I guess that's kind of where we're at with having this car for a year. It's been really great for us. It's done everything we've asked it to do. Oh, the springs. I wanted to get back to the springs. So we had, like I said, when we went on vacation, we had all 5 of us in the car, and we had the entire back filled with our luggage and all the other knickknacks and souvenirs and all that you could get in here. And we actually had plenty of space for everything that we needed. It was filled. And, you know, people on other forums have mentioned the springs in the back of these cars. Excuse me. So I was worried that I would have to get some, you know, like Rallytech springs. Rallytech does aftermarket accessories for, I think, only Subarus. Or like an Ironman spring. I was looking into that. I almost pulled the trigger on it, but I did not. And I have to say that unless you're really loading up this car with a lot of like overlander type accessories, like rooftop tent, spare tire carrier on the back, high lift jack, stuff like that, if you're getting real serious in the overlanding, that might be a consideration. But with the 5 of us and everything in the back, the car, yes, it did sit down a little bit, but it wasn't bouncing off like the bump stops or anything like that. Maybe if you hit a bump really super hard, you would have that type of situation, but driving around all over the place on vacation, it was still a nice, comfortable ride. The speed limits out west are 80 miles an hour, so doing 80 plus with the car loaded down handled just fine, and the springs were just fine as well. So to change the springs in the rear, like I said, you'd really have to be getting it loaded down on a regular basis to really justify that. Excuse me. So the stock springs have handled that very nicely. The one thing that I didn't do a lot of when we were driving on the highway system is when that speed limit does increase to 80 miles an hour, I did not use the lane keep assist as much as I would regularly. I run the lane keep assist almost every day, you know, when I drive to work or whatever. Like I said, I use it every day. But however, once you get up to 80 miles an hour and you do have the car loaded down, it's not that it doesn't follow the road like it's meant to. It's that if you've been in one of these cars with the lane keep assist from Subaru, and like, let's say you're going straight and it wants to center itself out and it wants to bring you into the center of the lane and decides it's going to go left or right, it does that very quickly. And I didn't want it to be doing that at 80 miles an hour plus going down the road or in mountain terrain, making those quick decisions that it does. When it goes around corners, it goes around corners smooth. But if it tries to center itself, it does that very quickly, and I just didn't feel comfortable at that speed. Otherwise, I have full confidence in the eyesight system. I absolutely do love the eyesight system, and it's worked great for us. The other thing to mention is talking about a vacation trip, being out in the mountains, being at altitude, you do lose performance, but I didn't notice any of that. You have a 2.4 liter boxer engine in here, and even being at 6,000 plus feet, this car handled that great. It had plenty of power in reserve. Even at one spot, we had a short spot, we were on a 10% grade. I had no idea we were on a 10% grade. I didn't see the sign until we went back down. This car will have just enough, more than enough power. If I had to put my foot in it and get around and past somebody, it had plenty of power to do that climbing up a 10% grade loaded with my family. Now 10% is not something that you'll run into in the mountains very often. I think the only reason why it was a 10% grade because it was a real short distance. Most of the mountain areas are actually either flat sometimes for a good stretch, or up to 7.5%, something like that. And when you are driving around on those grades, it's not for very long, but it can be for, you know, a few miles. And like I said, no problem. Car had plenty of power from that Boxer 4-cylinder, even at altitude where you do lose horsepower because of the air. So I guess that's that. That's pretty much a summary of a year with 2021 Subaru Crosstrek, and overall it's been a great experience. Thanks for watching. Just a quick side note before I fully wrap up the video. I did realize that at one point I stated that the engine was a 2.4 liter, and it is in fact a 2.5. And the other thing to take note of, since I talked a lot about driving in the mountains in this video with this 1 year review, the car's average miles per gallon never dropped below 30 miles per gallon average on the entire trip. So that's something to really consider with this car, is that you can have it loaded down with a lot of weight, driving around in the mountains, have plenty of power, and still be above 30 average miles per gallon. So there you go. Thanks for watching.